Welcome, friends. Before we begin, I'm going to take this time to set a tone for our gathering. Friends of Navajoland works best when we come together in a spirit of respect, care, and encouragement. This space is meant to be positive, affirming, and grounded in goodwill. Every voice matters, and every idea shared here is important. We speak with kindness, listen with our hearts, and lift each other up. Jesus teaches us, love one another as yourself, and that love guides how we show up together. At this time, we remember the Navajo way of walking in balance and the importance of relationship, humility, and respect. Thank you for being here today and for the care you continue to hold for this place and our people. Let us begin with a prayer. I don't know if you all have the little cards, the mission prayer. We'll begin with that. Together we can recite the prayer in English. In the name of Jesus Christ, the Holy One, we set out to walk in harmony, seeking forgiveness and wholeness through compassion and service. Love binds us in relationship to all creation. In the beauty way, all is restored again. To ground us in who is gathered, let us take a moment to introduce ourselves. Please share your name, your diocesan church, one word or short phrase that describes what partnership means to you, and one hope you have for how friends can strengthen relationships with Navajoland. Let us try to do 45 seconds to a minute. And once you're finished, you can call on the next person to go. And we'll start with Sally. Would you like to go first?
Cadell, I should have it on my iPad. And I will let Mark Cadell explain who we are, the Owen Project, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, Seguin, Texas, Diocese of West Texas. Mark, do you want to say a little more?
Yes, we're involved in a education and computer ministry, bringing laptops and other hardware out there, and we'll be bringing a crew out in July to work at St. Michael's, trying to set up a computer lab that'll be a model for labs we hope to set up in eventually in all the other churches. Our project is named after our son, who was moved by a mission trip and who died soon thereafter. And in his honor, we hope to be able to help to transform lives in the way that his was transformed. Thank you. I'm done. That's it.
Welcome, Mark and Sally.
Thanks.
Ben, would you like to go next?
I'm sorry, I don't hear well. I'm Ben Smith. I'm from St. Andrews in Bryan, Texas, Diocese of Texas. I guess if I had to sum up everything to do with Navajoland, it's comfort, peace, and a lot of good friends.
Thank you, Ben. Carol, would you like to go next?
Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Mayer. I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I am canonically resident, if that's what the word is, at the Diocese of Virginia. And the church I'm attending regularly is St. Matthew's, which is in the Diocese of Southern Virginia. I live kind of on the border. And I think for me, to sum up my relationship and what I feel as a partnership is to have a long-term friendship with members of the Diocese of Navajoland, and particular to encourage cultural awareness and education in the churches that I can visit here in our diocese, by having spiritual and educational pilgrimages on a regular basis and working alongside Dene leaders in the churches in Navajoland. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be a part of what they're doing and come alongside in what ways we can.
Thank you, Carol. Tom, would you like to go next?
Hi, greetings. I'm Tom Cecil. I'm from Fort Thomas, Kentucky. I attend and represent Christ Church Cathedral in Cincinnati, Ohio. Currently, I'm the chair of the Native American Ministry Council, and we work together to best satisfy the endowment of the Nan Lansley Endowment Fund. So we work to spread cheer across the U.S. and Canada. Nice meeting you, DJ.
Thank you. Welcome. Charlotte, would you like to go next?
I'm Charlotte Williams. I'm associated with St. Patrick's in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. I came to know about projects. We're physically closer to all of the Navajo land, so we have been able to do more physical work there. And Jim and Becky Dorian invited me to come. We were working on St. Christopher's, the facilities there, and most recently we were working on the facilities at St. Luke's, just outside Farmington. So that's I've enjoyed the work, and it's very rewarding. The people I've met have just been so kind and wonderful to me that I really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome, Charlotte. Tammy, would you like to go next?
Right, okay. Hi, Tammy Dunlap. I'm from Christ Church, Westerly, Rhode Island, in the Providence Diocese. I recently joined our Navajo Land Committee at our church, started by Marlise and George Parent, who are here, and with Tony. So I'm relatively new. I'm looking forward to attending the convocation in June, and just hoping to continue possibly some work that I started when I was in my early 20s, when I was going to school in Arizona and worked not necessarily with Navajo land specific, but looking forward to that, to coming together with that. So I thank you for having me and inviting me to this meeting today. Thank you.
Welcome, Tammy. Adolph, would you like to go next?
Did you say Tony? No.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adolph. I am from St. Albans Episcopal Church here in El Paso, Texas. I'm fairly new. I'm a fairly new face. I'm stepping in for Father Jim today. I've been an acolyte there for about a year now, I would say. And to me, partnership would be means to me where we're all valued and heard together. So I am honored to be here, to be able to listen, understand more, and hopefully be able to help and be a part more of Navajo land and build a strong friendship.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Jack, would you like to go next?
I'm Jack Chase. I've been out here on this stretch for just completed 6 years, and it's good to see some familiar faces here. Always trying to, I think we all are working together to try and build long-term relationships, and so welcome y'all.
Thank you. Tony, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Tony Scott, Red Deer. I'm a Narragansett tribal elder, and so I just have a personal interest, especially as an Episcopalian, and to become involved in as a Christian, my calling is to be involved in helping the growth of the church, and especially Navajo Land Church. I'm so excited about seeing what brings this June with the bishops and to see who you get. And I will celebrate joyously with you. And I can be involved in any way that you need me to be involved. Oh, and I'm from Christ Church, Westerly, Diocese of Providence. You're welcome.
Thank you, Tony. Margaret, would you like to go next?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Margaret Putnam. I'm the administrator and the treasurer for ECN, and I have been doing that for, gosh, going on 11 years now. And I've had the great honor of living out there for a bit at Good Shepherd Mission and working directly with the partners on projects. And so I really miss that. The last 5 years, I've been working remotely from Georgia, so I really miss working with partners directly. And to me, it means long-term friendships, and I hope that we can continue to see that happening for Navajo Land. Good to see all the beautiful faces.
Thank you, Margaret. Dave, would you like to go next?
Work. There we go.
We got it.
I'm Dave Thompson, and I am with Christ Church Cathedral in Cincinnati, the Diocese of Southern Ohio. And I have been fortunate to have been associated mainly with Navajo land, but with the Episcopal Church in the West since 1988. So I've had a lot of incredible, wonderful experiences and hope to see them in the future. I think what my two words would be mutual respect and mutual friendship. Some of the things that we need to look at as we build new partnerships and renew old ones. Good to see a lot of old friends and new friends here on this call. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Paul, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm Paul Wilson, live in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, and attend St. Patrick's Episcopal Church there. Jim Dorian made the mistake of telling Jim Dorian I'd help him on some projects, and he's been burning up my extra time ever since. So we worked on a number of projects in Bluff at St. Christopher's, and now starting a couple new projects down at St. Luke's, and kind of look at the partnerships of working with our Native American brothers and sisters and making life a little bit better for the communities.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome. Amy, would you like to go next?
Sorry I was late. I was tied up in another meeting, but I got out of it to come to this. I am in Ridgefield, Connecticut, which is about an hour north of Manhattan. I was with Trinity Church for many years. I guess technically I still am. My kids sing there, so that's more my connection. In 2015, we were discerning new mission partners, and we chose, after meeting with different people, and I think meeting with leaders out there, we decided to work with Navajo Lands and ECN. So I've been out, I think 3 times, maybe 4, and it's been very rewarding. I would like us to do more, and things since the pandemic have changed at Trinity, and I think they weren't doing mission work for a while. So I'd love to be a voice to take this information back to Trinity and really be an advocate for all of you and for the ECN out there. They know that I'm still involved and friendly with you guys. Mark Alvino was also going to join. I think he got tied up on a meeting. I don't see him here. But he's actually planning a trip this spring. I don't know the dates yet, but I'm going to try to glom onto that and come back out and visit with you guys. I was really fortunate enough to know Dave Bailey, and really am happy that, I got to be with you all during his tenure there, and we became friends. So we'd like to continue the work if we can, and find out really what's needed, and how best we can restart the work of supporting, especially with the new bishop and that you're independent and all of that. That's going to be very exciting.
So there's more to tell, but I'll let the next person go.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
George and Marlies, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Okay, you unmuted us, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's good. All right, yeah. Yeah, we have been involved with Navajoland for 25 years, mostly with St. Mary's in the Moonlight. We have taken, teenage groups out there and done work projects. The last few years, we have not gone there. We have come to the convocations, and we love to be still connected and connected in new ways. The church in Navajoland has been so much part of our hearts in such a long time. We're from Christchurch, Westerly, Rhode Island, and I'm thrilled we have other members come on again, so that's good. And so thanks for being part of you guys.
Yeah. The demographics of the church have changed so much. We don't have so many young people. So we've, and then COVID knocked us out. That was the last time we were there with children was in 2020. But we'll join up again this summer, and it's nice to see Dave Thompson on his feet. And yeah, so hey.
Thank you, George and Marlies. Maggie, would you like to go next?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm not on my laptop, I'm on my phone, so I'm having an issue right here. But anyway, it's good to see all of you and good to see new faces. My name is Maggie. Sin hin slónslesin bas sin kapán as a chéad lá séad as an algut is sanansle from St. Mark's coal mine, and also Good Shepherd Mission Fort Defiance. So it's good to see new faces.
Thank you, Maggie. Raina, would you like to go next?
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. My name is Raina Brown. I am part of the Navajoland Church. I go to church in Good Shepherd Mission, but my home church was or is Coal Mine. And it's good to be all of you again. I'm out here with the trucks and stuff like that. So if you guys hear a lot of air brakes and loud noises, that's what I'm doing. So I'm still in the meeting. So good to see you all.
Thank you, Raina. Ren Blessing.
Hi, this is Ren Blessing. I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I'm just gonna stay quiet and listen, but I'm here as part of the St. Patrick's contingent. We're looking forward to deepening our friendship with folks in the Diocese of Navajoland, and especially at St. Luke's in Bloomfield. And I'm the rector at St. Patrick's, and so just wanted to listen and to make sure I'm aware of all that's happening.
Thank you and welcome. Cornelia is having internet problems. She was trying to log in with her phone, but I think that only lasted a few minutes. So she might pop in later again. Welcome, everybody. My name is GJ Gordy. Welcome to our Friends of Navajoland meeting for the first one of this year. So happy New Year, everybody. At our first meeting, we focused on urgent winter needs, heating, food, and that type of support. Today, we're shifting towards something long-term. How do we build strong partnerships and relationships that support Navajoland well? We're hearing from more dioceses and mission groups who want to connect with ECN. So the question before us is not just how do we welcome that, but how do we live in it in a way that is healthy, respectful, sustainable, and rooted in Navajo leadership? This meeting is a space for listening, sharing wisdom, and beginning to shape a clear path forward. We're grateful that Bishop Barry is here with us today, especially to answer questions about the election process extension and what this season looks like for the missionary diocese. Bishop, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, GJ. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you all for being here. It's good to see you all. I am Barry Beisner. I'm the Bishop Provisional in Navajoland. I've been in that role since May of 2023. And the election process, I know several of you are wondering, and I've already heard some mention of the June convocation. As I'll explain in a moment, but there won't be one. It's been postponed yet again. The bishop election process was established by the All Navajo Standing Committee a year ago, January of 25. The search committee worked diligently, really worked hard to implement that, to accomplish the timeline that the standing committee had set, and was on the verge of doing that. The last piece before the scheduled January election was a 2-week time, almost 2 weeks, 12, 13 days in early December, when the three candidates would spend time, each would spend 3 days roughly in each of the three regions. So early in the process, part of the developing the process was to ask the elders, how do you choose leaders? And the answer generally was, we watch them grow up. Well, okay. And what if you don't have that opportunity? Well, then, of course, we just want as much time with them as in as many different circumstances as we possibly can. That December event certainly didn't fulfill all of that need, but it was a very different thing than the usual. If you've been through an Episcopal election in your home diocese or elsewhere, you know that it was an unusual thing. Usually you have something called walkabouts or something like that, when you have the whole batch of candidates making the rounds of the diocese. You don't have that kind of time with the individual candidates in each congregation, and so on. So that was one way in which this process was designed to be more authentically Navajo. Another piece was that the election convention, which will be done according to Episcopal Church canons and our own canons as approved last summer, would be preceded by a day of discernment. There would be a day when the delegates would gather, and this is to be facilitated by Lee Curtis, formerly canon to the ordinary in the Diocese of Rio Grande, and the person who was our lead facilitator in developing our mission prayer, which GJ led us in at the start of the meeting. Lee Curtis was going to it will still, but the plan was for him to facilitate that day of discernment at a Roman Catholic retreat center in Gallup, and then the very next day would be the convention. So at the start of the December event, in the moment, it was experienced as a bit of a bombshell. It wasn't anything that any of us were expecting, but someone who was very involved in the process expressed strong feelings on behalf of themselves and others in Navajo land, that it felt like the process was going too fast, that it was going too fast. And, that created something of a challenge because not everyone felt that way. But so we had a fairly intense few days of working and praying through that challenge to the place where the standing committee decided to extend the process, not because of any flaw in the process, not because of any deficiency in the candidates, nothing like that at all. Everything was set to go. In fact, the search committee was not in favor of extending it. They were ready to go. But the standing committee, and we have two members of the standing committee here, Jack and Maggie, very carefully and prayerfully determined that there was no reason not to, if some of the family felt that more time was needed, that was, and it was, within our capability to do that, that we would do that. And so and that's what it meant is the sacrifice of convocation. So it was the easy thing to do logistically, schedule-wise, etc. We already had 2 days in June set aside for a gathering in Bluff, Utah. So it was very easy for us to just move that 2-day gathering in January in Gallup, New Mexico, to the June event. So convocation got bumped again, and that will now be the new gathering for, we'll still do the Day of Discernment, and then we'll do the convention. And because it's an election convention, as you may know, it's not something that's open to the public. It's only voting delegates are allowed on the floor, and a few officers and support people and so on. It will be live streamed, and we'll try to include people as best we can, but canonically we have to limit the actual attendance to those who are authorized to vote. And we've got to be careful we don't allow there to be any grounds for challenging the legitimacy of the vote. So, that's just standard canonical concern. So that's unfortunate. On the other hand, there will be the consecration of a new bishop in Farmington, New Mexico on December 5th. Y'all come. You are most welcome for that. If you want a seat, you better get there early, but we'd love to see you all. That we will, and then I'm sure, I don't know what plans might possibly be for the next actual convocation, but I won't be a party to that decision, because one aspect of all of this is that I'll be convening and chairing that election convention, preaching at the convention Eucharist and getting my final exhortations in, and then once the convention is accomplished and the consent process is underway, we have that 120-day period when all of the dioceses of the church and all the bishops are asked to give consent to this election. We're electing a bishop for the whole church, for everyone. So while that's going on, I will disappear. I will finish my time as bishop provisional. The standing committee will become the ecclesiastical authority for that time between mid-June and early December. That means they've for decision-making purposes, they function as the bishop if they need a bishop to do something liturgical or whatever, there are plenty of neighbor bishops who are eager to help. And then the new bishop, God willing, and the people consenting, will begin on the 5th of December. It's an exciting time. It's yet another way in which Navajoland has surprised me and blessed me. I said it felt like a bombshell at the outset, and you know, it's amazing how once we sort of stepped back from our immediate reactivity, which was there for some of us, to some degree more for others, for some than others, and just listened and let the Spirit speak to us, and listen to what our family members were saying. Listen to those concerns. It was wonderful to see how it shifted, and what felt like a real challenge, and for some who've been working hard on this, and they had been, it was a difficulty. Yeah, it felt almost like an affront, but it was amazing to see how grace came to fill that space. The grace of God, and the movement of the Spirit. Well, I could go on. And I have experienced this in Navajoland again and again and again and again. To see the wonderful ways that God is at work. And it's sometimes seeing that requires stepping back, setting aside our agendas, setting aside our expectations about how things should be done, and allowing things to unfold in this gracious way. So, any questions? Any questions? Well, GJ, they're in stunned silence.
Thank you for sharing, Bishop.
Sure.
George and Marlies, did you have a question?
Just want to piggyback on your comment, Bishop. I think one of the things that I've learned the most over the years of being involved with Navajoland is I had to shrink my white mind.
There you go. Well, I got to thank you.
And I had to prayerfully listen to the Navajo people.
Yes.
That took over 20 years for me.
Well, Presiding Bishop Sean, was with us last April, and everywhere he went, he was saying, experiment. This is a time for you in Navajoland to experiment, and experiment in ways that will allow you to teach the rest of us how things might be done differently.
Mm-hmm.
How church might be done differently. I got to share with the Province 8 bishops at their annual retreat 2 weeks ago what I just shared with you about they all wanted to know what's this about the change in the extension in the election process. And as I explained it to them, they all said, and they so appreciated the fact that we have given ourselves that kind of freedom and that kind of flexibility to respond to the concerns of our people in that sort of gracious way. And they all said, wow, I wish we could do that in our diocese. I wish the rest of the church could do that. Well, bingo. That's exactly what Presiding Bishop Sean was talking about. We can. So, thank you.
Can I ask a question? I just wanted to be clear, is
Is that Tony? No.
original, yes, it's Tony. Is it the original three people selected for the position that are still in?
That's a great question, Tony. And I neglected to mention that one result of this was that the third candidate, the candidate from outside Navajo land, after she completed the December event and went home and consulted with her vestry, decided to withdraw. The extension just wasn't feasible for her, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Now we're going to shift towards what our topic this week or this month is. We want to open a shared conversation about partnerships. Many people love Navajoland deeply and want to help, but we also know that partnerships must be built carefully. Some leaders in Navajoland raised something important. Vicars and local leaders already carry so much. Mission groups can be a blessing, but they can also create extra work if we don't have a good structure. So today we want to ask, what does a healthy partnership look like? What kind of partnerships are most helpful now? What kind of requests are coming in from outside? Where do we see opportunities and where do we need boundaries? And I think those are some of the questions that we'll start with now. What kinds of partnerships are most helpful right now? I think we only have Reverend Jack and Reverend Cornelia from Utah and San Juan region, but we also have Maggie and Raina from the Southeast region. But anybody can answer the question. What kind of partnerships are most helpful right now? Or should we start with a question about what has been positive in your partnership when you came to visit Navajoland? What worked well? If you have trouble unmuting, just raise your hand and I can help unmute.
Well, I'll put at least get the conversation started. I can tell you that I don't go to church on a Sunday when I'm not asked at least once, usually multiple times when we're going back to Good Shepherd. We went for 10 years and then haven't been back since the pandemic. And my answer is always, that our relationship had developed into a partnership and we need to wait for an invitation. And so there were years that we went out. In fact, her name escapes me, the person who lived out there and ran the greenhouse and the gardens for many years before Paula.
Malu,
yes. I was meeting with her and Chan, and it was Malu's day off. It was Chan's day off. And my response to whatever they had asked me was, when we come out, you don't have to entertain us. And they were silent for a long time. And Malu said, I don't get days off during the summer, ever. And she's like, and she did say, I feel like if I'm not preparing for a group, I'm ushering a group around. And Jan voiced similar concerns. And then in conversations with almost everyone associated with Good Shepherd since that time, there was always a concern to have the balance between a fulfilling experience for people in our group, especially if it was their first time to go to the Navajo land, and to not overwhelm the staff who were out there. And I know that there's been a couple of attempts at having a position that kind of coordinates efforts and takes some of that burden away from the clergy and staff when there are groups coming out there. But and the other thing to illustrate this point is we would also bring a group of vet students with us that would work at the vet clinic that was Jack, you'll have to help me with the name of that clinic. I don't remember, but in all cases, yeah, and in all cases, we would send vet students and vets down there to work, and they would be like, "Oh, we haven't seen the veterinarian today." Well, that's because when the veterinarian was catching up on paperwork that she had gotten so behind on, and her comment, I think I still have this note somewhere, was, "When y'all come, you give the gift of time to me," and that was important. I feel like when we're at Good Shepherd, though, we just take time away. And so, if there was a way to give the gift of time, to not be a burden, and no one ever felt like, I don't think anyone ever went away thinking that. That was more in private conversations that I had, where I was like, it's my job to make sure that we're not a burden when we come out, because ultimately, and I think it's proven true that over the years, many of the people that came with our group, because we would always have several, Jack would be one of them, who weren't associated with St. Andrews, but would establish a long, fruitful relationship outside of that 1 week trip, and that was always the goal.
Texas.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Ben. George, did you want to talk at this time?
Okay. I just want to say, when we first started going out to St. Mary's, whoever the priest was there, we used to go to the chapter house, and that's how we got out of their hair. We got involved with projects in the Oljeto area, and that brought people to come to church. On Thursdays, we would have a community dinner. We'd have 50, 75 people. So that format worked well, but with nobody at St. Mary's, there was no more connection with the chapter house.
Thank you for sharing, George. The question is, what is one positive takeaway that you had when you visited Navajoland? What worked well in the partnership?
I guess I'd just like to say, when I've been able to go, I guess the best part is just the friendships that I've made there. All of us, I'm sure, if we ever get to go, you're very limited on your time, and of course the folks that are there are limited on their time too. But I think what you're saying, one thing was really good, is having meals together is wonderful. It's a wonderful way to share. You've got to eat anyway, so it's a good time to sit down with people and talk and just just talk. And so I've enjoyed that a lot when I've been out there.
Thank you, Charlotte. Meals are important, and that is how when I do a lot of group meetings here in Navajoland, one of the things I try to center around is food or cooking together. And I know Mark makes a really great lasagna. Mission groups often come with good hearts, but need preparation and guidance. How can friends help mission groups arrive with cultural humility?
How can friends
How can help with cultural
friends? How can
Yeah.
friends help with?
Now, how can they help with cultural understanding?
Or another question is, what should follow-up look like after groups leave?
What should what follow-up look like?
Yes, what should follow-up look like after a group leaves?
What should follow-up look like after a group leaves?
Has there been any follow-up when you come for a summer visit and then up to the next summer?
No, don't. No.
George?
Yeah, I just want to say we've been going for many years, but when we first got there, it took quite a while to develop a talking relationship. Like Bishop Plummer was, he was always very honest with us. He was very kind when we made stupid mistakes, etc. And then we would go back home, and then we would discuss our trip, etc., what we learned, etc., what the bishop and the people taught us.
At our church.
At our church, yeah. So, yeah, that was helpful. I just want to say about the teenagers that we used to take there. That was an unbelievable, eye-opening experience for those kids. I still see some now. They're married, they have children, and they remember their time in Navajoland.
Mm.
I think that this is David, and having been fortunate to have been a part of this all since 1988, when we first started, it was not an overwhelming thing to do to go to Navajoland or to go to these places. And so we had a group of 12 people or 10 people, and we worked with two lay leaders at Good Shepherd, Margaret Hardy and Pauline Dick. And it was a very enriching experience. We learned a lot about the culture. We learned a lot about how the interface of the Episcopal Church and the Native American beliefs and so on and so forth. I think it was doable, and I was very fortunate to have been in some of those early years, and then it became popular. And then it was like wall to wall every week, a different group that was coming out. Some groups, I hope ours was considered in that, was somewhat knowledgeable, and so we were a little bit self-sufficient. But because most of the groups were new at this, it required an incredible amount of time, and it required an incredible amount of time with the clergy and with the available staff. And I certainly agree with Ben that we need to figure out a way to do this so that the riches of this cross-cultural experience continue, but we're just not overwhelming a very small core of very wonderful, knowledgeable people called the clergy and the staff that populate Good Shepherd and St. Christopher's and some of the other places around. We have discussed, without a whole lot of coming to fruition, the idea of an individual, sort of a concierge, that would sort of be the person that would be on hand, that would acculturate these new groups coming and so on and so forth, just take some of the pressure off of the existing clergy. but for whatever reason, that has not borne fruit. And maybe that's an area that we want to explore, TJ, further to see if that sort of position or that sort of entity could exist in the future. I don't know.
Thank you for saying that, Dave. That brings me to my next question. Would quarterly orientation or learning Zooms be a helpful rhythm?
What?
Would quarterly orientation or learning Zooms be a helpful rhythm?
Quarterly orientation by Zoom, would that help?
That's actually what I was going to add on to Dave's thing. Once we had come out for a couple of years, and we did have the good fortune of having a local family who also had family in Fort Defiance. We were able to we had 3 or 4 preparatory meetings, and 2 of those focused on learning the Navajo culture as far as functioning. And I will say that as the leader or the organizer of that group, I did turn people away who I didn't think, one, if they didn't come to the meeting, they weren't going to go with me out there. And then 2, if they had an attitude or displayed any comment or anything like that during any of those trainings that I thought would be detriment to the long-term relationship that we were trying to build, I would ask them not to go. And I don't know, there were 6 or 7 people over the years that I just simply said, you can't go with us out there. But that was always coming from me and other people at the church. If y'all came up with that training and it was, Zoom, we would pay. And I had offered that we would pay and house people here if people came in person. Of course, that adds to the time. But if y'all did that and we were able to get groups going back, it would be so good for me to say, you've got to go to one of these trainings online. It would be almost the same thing as before you can go with us, you've got to have your safeguarding stuff in place. Before you can go with us, you've got to pass GJ's course. And if GJ says you didn't pass, you're not coming.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. And one of the caveats, I'm sure it's basically for any group that goes out there, that you have to achieve the racial piece and the safe church piece in order to be certified by your diocesan bishop or whoever's in charge to go out there. I know that we have to make sure that our people out of the cathedral are certified in both of those areas before they're allowed to participate in any of this. And this is just sort of a further piece. We're fortunate to have a lot of people that have gone, and so we have a fairly good backup of people that can hold those kinds of sessions for the newcomers. But for the totally newcomers, this is going to become an issue, I think.
Mark?
Thank you. I think our project is somewhat, in terms of communication, we have a good way to maintain contact, not only when we're there, but over the months, because the computers need to be maintained, there's subscriptions, there are constant kinds of needs that develop with Starlinks and with other equipment that increases the range of the Wi-Fi hotspot. So we're actually fortunate in that's actually necessary. But the beautiful thing that's developing over the years, and this is our 5th time to go, is that with each time, it seems as if those folks there the Dene that we're actually working with, they begin to understand the depth of our commitment, that it's not going to be just for a weekend here or a weekend there, that we're in it for a decade, as long as we're alive. And that it seems like each time we go, someone has an idea and they'll say, well, hey, well, do you think we could do this? And do you think you could write a grant and maybe include some more Chromebooks, or we could add, maybe we could get some people to help us build a classroom there. My wife and I are both teachers, so we spent a lot of time in Honduras, about 10 years. So we recognize that there's a kind of beautiful Christian patience that's involved here, and that our church is St. Andrew's is quite active in missionary work. So there's a lot of people who understand all of those intangibles that really perhaps can't be taught in a classroom or even on a Zoom, but you actually have to have the experience of what it feels like to commit yourself to acting and then actually acting. And then someone, I forget, mentioned, the kind of goal-oriented mindsets that we have, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, is to suspend that and say, well, I'm going to wait for somebody to tell me what to do. And that's not just going to be some immediate transaction. It's going to have to come through what I see as developing is a sense of trust. It's a cliche to talk about relationships. I don't know any other way to explain it. That the basis of a Christian relationship is to love your neighbor as yourself. So that includes, it's very difficult to do even, in your own church, let alone, moving across cultural and other kinds of historical borders and things like that. But I think that our growing relationship draws people who are equally minded to try to live out a more committed and deeper relationship with Christ. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Cornelia, did you want to add anything?
Hi, yes, this is Reverend Canon Cornelia Eaton. Sorry, I'm not able to be with you on Zoom. My internet is giving me trouble, and then I dial in, and then it seems to be going off and on. So hopefully this will not make any more trouble with my logging in and logging out. But yes, I serve here in Navajoland as Reverend Canon Cornelia Eaton, Canon to the Ordinary, and I also serve as Program Director over at the Hojon Recovery and Healing Center, and the Hojon Center. And so I was just thinking about what you all were talking about and your experiences and your hopes and moving forward. So I've done, it seems to me that I participated in a whole lot of pilgrimages over the years. And it's been, my experience has been a joy to spend time with our partners, our friends, who wish to build a relationship with the Dene and learn about spirituality, culture, traditions, which is deeply rooted in our sacred stories and our teachings. And we have a lot of gifts here in Dene among the people who have stories of their upbringing and their spiritual journey. And so for me, I hope that can continue into our future, because I see us as a people of the sacred circle within the four directions of Dineh Bikea. The four directions that I speak of is the four sacred mountains where the Dineh live, and we spiral from that like a wedding basket, or the Beauty Way basket, ceremonial basket. That has many significance for many different ceremonies. So I don't know why I said wedding, but maybe I'm thinking of, there's always a covenant of some sort that we're called into in building our relationship together. And so I was just thinking along the lines of, we've been in area mission for so many years, decades actually, and that now we're missionary diocese. And so I'm just kind of thinking of well, how do we together reset and relook at ways that we can build on our partnership, on our friendship. And this is what GJ is helping us to do, and so that we can strengthen our ministry together as we move forward in the Hojon way of Beauty Way relationship and the Shalom relationship. So there's a lot that needs our attention here in Navajoland, and each of our regions have a whole lot of areas that need assistance. And as we're looking towards building up some leadership in our churches, so that our laity can take more of a lead in some of these areas of mission and ministry, group ministries, and sharing. And but my experience has been that, like the Owens Project, Mark shared with you, that we started our relationship as a pilgrimage. We started to learn more about each other every year. And then, I think it was a second year we were together, we started to really think and pray about what our ministry is calling us, what God is calling us. Each ministry group, each partnership has a ministry to offer, and we have a ministry to offer back. So it's a both ends. And so as we keep moving forward, right now, I think the first few years was basically Mark and Sally and Reverend Stephen coming in to set the tone with us. We're in partnership, we're talking together how this would unravel. And so the first part was really learning about tradition, culture, sensitivity, getting to know each other, and then getting to know the community, and then beginning with a project where we might first begin and then evolve that way. And I think that might be a good way to ground ourselves again together, because even for me, even though I've lived here all my life and I grew up in the tradition, the culture, the ceremonies and everything, I'm still learning. I've always learned new things every time I step into a Hogan or a ceremony, or someone else is telling their story from their perspective about tradition, culture, and ceremonies. I am always learning new things as a Dineh, and the learning never stops. And so I hope that this is something that we can continue and explore. And so that's, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Cornelia. I think there's two things that I thought about while contemplating building relationships in Navajoland. One of them was the Friends Cultural Learning Series, which is kind of what we're talking about, bi-monthly or quarterly Zoom sessions led by ECN Voices. focus on Navajo context, values, history, and healthy partnerships. I think this was a good idea because as we started as this is our second year as a missionary diocese, it's going to be, I don't know, I'm losing my time thought. I just lost another one. Anyways, as we are a new missionary diocese, many people recognize us out in the Episcopal Church and are contacting us about forming relationships and pilgrimages. And one of the things that we thought was a good idea was to have Zoom meetings about Navajoland and culture. And one of the sessions that I thought, or a couple of the sessions, was what does partnership mean in a Navajo context? So this would be talking about cultural balance and what relationships come before project. Other things I thought of was Navajoland history, sovereignty in church, boarding schools, how ECM came to be, and federal policies, why helping can harm, clarity versus solidarity, power dynamics and listening as spiritual practice, and Navajo spirituality and Christianity, holding multiple traditions, blessing way and the Jesus way, and optional language revitalization, youth and culture, land and theology. And these are some topics that I thought of that could help help new partnerships, relationships form, but also this is something I don't think we've done in Navajoland as a diocese for our partners or for our Friends of Navajoland. So this would be something that all of us would be doing together as a new practice, as a new ministry as Friends of Navajoland. The other thing that we spoke about is orientation Zooms, kind of like what Ben was talking about. Simple 60-minute orientation for groups seeking to come to Navajoland, covering context, culture, humility, partnership principles, and practical expectations. That would be like one of the things that future partnerships would have to do along with Safe Church. I think that was one thing that we're trying to take seriously, or we are taking seriously, is Safe Church. Last year, our partners from the Martoma Church, before they came out to visit the 3 regions in Navajoland, I had 40 of them go through Safe Church training within a month. So that was a huge accomplishment, especially their commitment and time to listen to what we need. We need Safe Church training for people to understand that we're safeguarding our future generations. So I think which out of these 2 possible starting points, which do you think would be the most important, or are they equally important? Carol?
Thank you. For me, myself, I feel like both of them are very important. And that would really be a big plus for the groups that I facilitate, to have that coming from the Dene leaders, offering that and requiring it, and requiring an orientation Zoom. And then to have selected topics like you've mentioned, there might be some way to organize those topics so that maybe we could offer them in some way. But I love that idea. I was very excited when I saw that the leaders of the Navajoland are going to be offering what is the convention information. There's something coming out soon that you're going to offer about what is a convention and other topics related to the Episcopal Church. I think that not only offers the right, accurate kind of direction for others to listen and hear from you, but it also offers opportunity, I think, for leaders from the Dene people, lay leaders, to come forward and be part of the storytelling and, the different topics that are going to be talked about. It would be excellent.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for mentioning that. That is something we're going to be starting next month, which is next week, the first Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Zoom. That's open to anybody. But we're we're asking our deputies here in Navajoland to participate so they can learn more about General Convention and also the different caucuses that come out of there, the many different groups that make up the deputies of color. So we'll have guest speakers from all around the Episcopal Church chiming in with us. Anybody else would like to talk about the two proposed Zooms, which is more important to do first or equally important?
I just think that they're equally important. I don't see one as being more than the other, but both equal and important.
Thank you. We have a thumbs up from Mark. Jack or Maggie, do you guys want to add anything from Navajoland?
I just want to say what I've learned over the years, that some things work, some things don't. As Ben mentioned, I first started coming out here with his church. His former, now late rector, Sean Cox, called me up, and basically he wanted me to be a driver because he wanted my wife on the mission because she's a veterinarian. And so Sean and I and his senior warden at the time came out in the fall and met with Chan and with some of the lay leaders at Good Shepherd Mission, and they laid down the ground rules for how the mission would go forward. Unfortunately, Ro and I weren't able to go in the first mission the following year, but then we started coming out. And what I took away from that is, now that I'm out here, one of the things that I've found that's been very successful is when groups or leaders of various congregations call and say, we'd like to come out to your area. Well, we invite them to come out. The leaders, like Sean and his senior warden and I, came out at one time, 2010, and we invite them to come out and spend a few days with us, talking primarily to the lay leaders here. And that's another thing that there's a lot of talk about how much burden there is on the clergy. So as an interim, I have been focused on developing the lay leadership in dealing with the outsiders coming in. We now have a person who's a hospitality manager. She's kind of grown into that job, and so when people talk to me, because oftentimes priests want to talk to priests, and I understand that. And then I put them in touch with Diane Ben, who's our hospitality manager, and she takes from there. And she schedules things, and she schedules the storytellers, she schedules the events with them in coordination. But it really helps when we don't have a relationship with the group that wants to have a relationship, is to have 2 or 3 leaders come out and spend a few days with us during the off season when we're not terribly busy, and meet with people and talk about what they have to bring to the table, and we can talk with them about what we need and give them a little bit of an orientation of some boundaries and things like that, and setting some standards. And that process has worked. It worked very well for St. Matthew's going forward. They planned their projects a year in advance, going forward year by year on their construction projects. They worked with, they had a 3-pronged one. They had VBS, they had a construction project, and then they had the veterinary project with the students. But all that was done in advance, and it saved a lot of saved a lot of problems going down the road of misunderstandings. And they did. They've had a long-term relationship. It kind of got interfered with by COVID, I think, Ben. And then, as Ben has said, they want to reestablish get it back going again. And in some ways, that's going to be a restart. So I would encourage anybody who's thinking about starting for the first time with their group to make arrangements to come out in the off season, this time of year, for instance, and spend some time out here. It's a little chillier than it normally is in the summer, and the conditions aren't as great. There's not as much open, but it's a good time to meet with the leadership and plot out what you want to do and what needs to be done, and go from there. So that would be what I would add to this in terms of the beginning of relationships with any of the churches out here.
Thank you, Jack. I just want to mention, recently I've been looking over the Friends of Navajoland website. And one of the things that I think we've fallen off from doing is checking the prayer cycle that we have there. friendsofnavajoland.org, there's a little tab that says prayer cycle. And there's a ministry or a church to pray for each day of the week, if you feel so inclined to do. Keep us in prayer as we continue our walk together. This is holy work, building relationships that are not transactional, but rooted in love, trust, and mutual respect. Friends of Navajoland has always been strongest when it helps people walk alongside Navajoland communities for long term. Thank you for continuing that journey. Some dates to remember that we have coming up here in Navajoland. There's Winter Talk. A Winter Talk is coming up in February, the end of February. We have 5 people going, 4 Navajo clergy and 1 laity. Day of discernment is June 12th, 2026. Electing convention is June 13th, 2026. And as I mentioned before, the Navajoland deputies will meet monthly starting next month all the way through May of 2027. Our next Friends meeting is on March 27th, 2026. And we're going to work on the Zooms. It will probably be starting after the March meeting. Jack, would you close us with prayer?
Almighty Creator, God, Creator of all that is and all that will be, we give you thanks for all the blessings that you've given us. We particularly give you thanks for the blessings of friendship and family and peace. We ask you to bless us as we go forward, to guide us by your Holy Spirit in all that we do. For we are all your children, Lord. We believe that you have spoken to each of us and all of your people, and you speak in the language and in the culture of the people to whom you're speaking. And we give you thanks for that, and we honor that. And I personally give thanks for all the people who are on this call and all the people who have mentored me and helped me and guided me and continue to guide me as I walk my journey on this earth. And all this we pray and with thanks to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 God bless you all and God's peace be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.